Okay, here we are back again. Now, you guys all have rulers like these. Now, the ruler, sure, I wonder if you guys will be able to see. I will bring it a little bit higher. Now, the ruler is calibrated in centimeters and millimeters. Now, if you see, the one side says cm, that's centimeters, and then you see all these numbers. Those are all the centimeters, and you will see it will go all the way to 30. Then the other side of our rulers, that's why we bought these rulers, you have mm, and those are millimeters. And then you see, okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. But if you just peep over to this side, you will see from 29 to 30 is 1 centimeter. But at the same time, from that line to that line, it's 10 millimeters. So that means 1 centimeter is the same length as 10 millimeters. Now 10 seems to you, wait a minute, but it's 10 and this is only 1. It doesn't mean the number is getting bigger, it's the size. So if I go from this line to that line, that is about, can I say my little finger, my pinky? It's about the thickness of my pinky. Okay, my little finger, that's about a centimeter. But the same finger I can put on this side, and it's the same thickness. It is 10 millimeters, so it's like 10 cent pieces. Has the same value is $1. Okay, so if I have $1 in my one hand and I have 10 cents in my other hand, I have more coins, but it doesn't mean I have more money. So just keep that in mind. Just because it's 10 millimeters doesn't mean it's longer. It is the unit in which we measure. Okay, now how do I measure? Let me just get my pencil and paper ready. I really hope you guys can see that the camera is not too far, but if I get too close, maybe let me just move it a little bit closer. Then you guys might be able to see the little lines. Sorry, I just don't want to confuse our contraption here, but I think you need to come a little bit closer. Whoops. Let's see if this is better. Let's see if this is better. Let me just check. Yeah, I think you guys might be able to see a little bit better. Okay, now if I have a line, let me just draw a line. If I have a line, okay, you can get a line. It always starts with a little dot. Okay, that is where a line starts. And then when I mean the line to carry on, it's a line piece. Okay, piece of a line. All right, and it's going on. So if I want to measure this, I'm going to start at this point and I'm going to stop at that point. Now, if I ask you to measure in centimeters, you take your ruler and you turn it to the side that indicates centimeters. And remember, we do not start on the edge of the ruler. Just because that's the edge of the ruler doesn't mean that's the starting point. These lines on a ruler, we call it the ruler is calibrated. It means it's divided into specific chunks that are all the same distance apart. Okay, but we always start with 0. Now, they don't show you the 0 there, they just start with centimeter, but that is exactly where you're going to start measuring your line. Now, you can put it on top of the dot or the starting point. That's why we let you guys get transparent rulers so that you can still see the line. But even if you make little lines like this and you measure underneath it, you will still be measuring correctly. So my start point of the line is opposite the 0 calibration of my centimeters. And now I just follow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it stops exactly where the 7 is. So this line is 7 centimeters long. If I have another line, let's say this line is like this, I can do this. You don't have to. For me it's always helpful, because when I put my ruler down, I can see immediately where it stops. Because when I put my ruler on the line, it's covering the line. Although it's a see-through ruler, it's making it a bit difficult to see exactly where this thing is now stopping. So I always make these little lines to help myself. And then I put the ruler down and I see, okay, I have to start there. Remember, not the edge, but on this line. And then I carry on till where the line stops and I just read the number. Guys, no calculation or anything. You just read from the ruler. Okay, so those are my centimeters. Imagine I ask you, so there's where you need to be very careful. You need to see which one I ask you to use. Those are the units of measurement. The smallest one that we have is millimeter. You will see it. I will show it now in your booklet. Millimeter. Then we get centimeter. Then we get a thing called decimeter, and then we get meter. That's the one that we use with the meter stick as well as the trundle wheel. Then we get one called decameter, hectameter, and kilometer. Now those ones sound very unfamiliar. They do exist, but we don't use them that much. We use kilometers to calculate how far we drive with a car, and millimeters to measure tiny things, and centimeters, and then longer things like our length, we use meters and centimeters. I'll get to that part where we use 2 units at the same time. Now let's get back to the millimeters. If I need to measure in millimeters, you turn your ruler that you use the millimeter side. Again, you start with a 0, although it doesn't show 0, there's 10. So if I count the little lines, it will be 9, 8, 7, 6. And this line that's a teeny tiny little bit longer is 5. So 4, 3, 2, 1. So this one must be 0. Remember, don't start with the edge. I start on that first line. And now you don't need to count all these teeny tiny lines. You just go with the numbers 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And that's where I stop. It's 70 millimeters. And by looking at those, you can immediately see 1 centimeter is the same as 10 millimeter. It's the same length. Doesn't mean it's bigger. It's the same length, because a millimeter is this teeny tiny little piece. It's almost the thickness of my nail. Okay, that's a millimeter, the space. Alright, and if I take my ruler and I measure the bottom line, I start with my 0 again, 10, 20, 30. So it's 30 millimeters. And again you can see, because 1 centimeter is the same as 10 millimeters. Because these teeny tiny lines, there are 30 of them, which is the same as the 3 centimeters that I measured on the other side of my ruler. Now, say for instance, I give you a line on your worksheet. I'll show you those in a bit. I give you a line on the worksheet. I say, okay, I want the length of that one. Now, I can say measure it in centimeters, please. Then you go to the centimeter side of your ruler, start with a 0, not with an edge, and now you see, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oops, but there's something else, and then there's a 7. Now, what on earth am I going to do now? This one is 6 centimeters, and this is halfway between. Now, you can do the following. You can say, I measured 6 complete centimeters. I cannot say 7 because it didn't reach the 7 yet. It's almost like minutes that didn't change to an hour yet. I'm halfway in the middle. Okay, now we will get to decimals and fractions later. But if I say a half, it's 0,5 because there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So half of 10 is 5. So it's 5 millimeters. So I can say, let me do it this way. Let me turn to the millimeter side. I can say, if I measure this in millimeters only, this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65 millimeters. Okay, that wasn't a problem. So if you measure it in millimeter, you could just count the little lines. I reached 60 and then count the teeny tiny lines to get to 65. But if I measure the centimeter side, I first go to the completed centimeter, that's the 6. And the rest of this piece, I'm going to use my millimeter side. And we just did it and it was 5 millimeters. So now I can say this piece till there is 6 centimeters and this teeny tiny piece is 5 millimeters. It's not a centimeter yet because I need 10 millimeters to make a centimeter and I only have 5. So it's like dollars and cents. You guys know dollars? Then I have a comma. And whatever is standing behind my comma, those are my cents. Although when we write the dollar sign, we don't write the cents. So if I have 50 cents, for instance, it means it needs to stand behind the comma because those are cents. Even that I can go to 99, it still needs to stay on the back side of the comma because it's not 100 yet. Because I know 100 is $1, so then I can move it to the front of the comma because now I separate my dollars from my cents. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I measure my complete centimeters first and then I carry on measuring in millimeters because that one is not enough. It needs to be 10 to call it a centimeter, so it needs to stand behind. And that's why I can also say it's 6, comma, same reason as dollars. The centimeters are in front, behind is not big enough, but I say centimeters. If I write it like this, it means whatever is in front of the comma is my complete centimeters. Those behind are not centimeters yet. So I can split it up and say this is 6 centimeters and this should then be my millimeters. Let me do another one. I'm just going to draw a random line without trying to look even where I'm going to draw this. Okay, let's say this. Okay, there's my beginning, there's my end, and I turn it first to my centimeter side. Okay, there you go. And I say, good. I start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I stop there. This is 8 centimeters. And now I need to measure this. Now you can see it will be more than 5, but it's not the 9 centimeter yet. So now I turn my ruler and I go to my millimeter side. Okay, so now I count the teeny tiny lines. 1, 2, 3. I know this one is 5. 6, 7, 8. Now if you say 7 millimeter and someone else will say 8 centimeter and 8 millimeters, both of them will be right because it's more or less. Okay, I will always give you a little bit of a gap there. So I can either write it like this or I can say I want to write it as centimeters. So whatever is in front is my centimeter. Whatever is at the back is my millimeter. This is my centimeter. And whatever is at the back is my millimeter because it isn't 10 yet. So this number behind will never be 10 because there are 10 millimeter in a centimeter. So the moment it's 10, I can move it over to the centimeter side. It's like comma separating my dollars and my cents. Alright, now let's quickly go to your booklet. And I hope everything is still in focus here. This is what your booklet looks like. Write your name in the beginning. And there I will explain to you, those are the units that we measure in. Those are the guys that I was talking about. And just 2 pictures to help you to remember. Kilo is always the big one and milli is always the small one. Alright, then I said watch the video where I demonstrate how to measure using a ruler. That's what I just did. And then have a look at the next 2 pages. Now, not this one, after the instructions. See, on this one, it shows you again, the ruler is divided into centimeters. And this one is called, is measuring 9.5 centimeter or 9 centimeter 5 millimeter. Exactly what I explained to you. And then they zoomed in and they made it a little bit bigger so you guys can see the millimeters. Now remember, that is not really millimeters if I compare it to a real ruler, but it's just to explain it to you and how does it work. And there again it explains to you what goes in front, what goes in the back. And then I give you these to show you that this is a millimeter, the teeny tiny lines. But from one number to the next, although it says millimeters, these are centimeters. And it's the same as 10 millimeters. Can you see? It's not 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters. It's the same. So this pencil is 75 millimeters, but 7.5 centimeters. Or 7 centimeters, 5 millimeters. So there's 3 ways that you can write the length of something. Okay, and this activity, sorry guys if I'm making you confused with the turning around of all the papers. There you need to trace your hand. You put your hand like this, you trace your hand, and then you measure your thumb. From there you will feel the bone there. From there to your finger you can make 2 lines, and then you measure how long it is. How wide is your finger, your hand, from that side to the widest side. Put a star on top of your longest finger. In my case, this is my star. Put a smiley on your shortest finger. You can measure from that bone and compare it with your thumb. And then find the measurements. So look for these measurements on this ruler and indicate it the way that I showed you there. There you just measure with your ruler, but the answer should be millimeters, not centimeters. Then again you use millimeters and you draw your own lines. Remember, we always do it in pencil. You use your ruler, don't use freehand. Also measure them, and then we're going to convert. So 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. So 5 will be 5 times 10. 40 will be 40 times 10. Always times 10. There you don't use a ruler, you just measure accordingly. There is also the 3 ways that we were talking about. With this one, you are going to use this measuring tape that you received from us. Okay? You will see it's got, first of all guys, it's got the school's name on and a number. This is your number that I've put on a list, and this is the school's name. So please, I need it back. You will see it's calibrated on this side. It's inches. Now, they use inches, we're using centimeters. So make sure that you use the proper side that says centimeters. So it says 150 centimeters, that is 1.5 meters. That's how long this thing can go. Alright, so please take care. If you you pull it out and you press the button, some of them are not really, there you go. Alright, that's how it works. So for this activity, the Leonardo da Vinci activity, you use this measuring tape, please, and then return it to us the next week. There's converting kilometers and meters. You will see everything is clearly indicated to you guys. There I repeat the 3 ways again so you don't forget. So we will take it step by step and take you through all the measurements. I hope you guys are watching this video because you won't be able to do the work unless you watch the video. Enjoy it, and if you have some spare time and you're done with your work, you're more than welcome to walk around the house and measure stuff with this measuring tape. You can measure the circumference, that means all around your head. You can measure the length of your foot, you can measure your bed, anything that you would like to measure. But please return this to us because that's our supplies. Enjoy it, guys. We talk again.